Normally I'd be here, but we still are having camera troubles. I have not gotten a new camera nor fixed my current camera, but it's patch note 0.4 time. Let's get right into it. So here we are. This patch is coming out February 21st. Are you ready to make some noise? It's time to talk about patch version 0.4 dropping this Tuesday, February 21st. With it, of course, comes our headline act, a new hero to join our roster, Shinbi. That's not all, however. This patch introduces some major changes to Fangtooth, much needed, and introduced Primal Fangtooth. Interesting. A dangerous new version of everyone's favorite deadly dino. The Big Brute provides a temporary buff to make games more dynamic, whilst also providing teams more counterplay against early Fangtooth leads. We're also ready to open the doors to a new in-game shop, your one-stop shop for browsing awesome skins that you can spend your platinum on. So we can spend our platinum now. Hey, it's lit. Or we'll be able to. The first version of our player versus AI mode is going live in this patch. You can play solo or with a party of friends taking on Predecessor's artificial intelligence. This mode is beginner friendly and will be expanded on in the future, so get stuck in and hone your skills or learn a new hero. I'll never play it, but that's good for people who are picking up the game who haven't played a MOBA before. On top of all this, we are also making some slight balance changes to address some outliers, adjusting Omnivamp items, and providing some support to Muriel. Between the deadly roars of Fangteeth, Fangles? I'm a big fan of Fangles. And Shinbi's dazzling performances, the battlefield is about to sound very different. Grab your tickets and let's go. It's time for the Shinbi tour. Thanks, Alex, lead game designer. A new hero appears. It's time for the performance of a lifetime. Shinbi's sellout tour of Predecessor begins shortly, and you've got front row tickets. This viral pop star lights up the stage with captivating shows, playing deadly tunes that summon powerful wolves during her gigs. She never disappoints her fans. So we've had the reveal showcase for Shinbi, whether she's being played in jungle. Hopefully she will be good in jungle. I think she has some good potential. Shinbi's abilities: passive biting melody, basic attacks deal an additional 10 plus 12% magical power, magic damage on hit. Periodically, biting melody deals 4 times the damage. Damaging an enemy hero with an ability decreases the cooldown by 1 second. So she will still have the base normal attack damage from physical power, as well as additional damage from magical power. So she will still have the base physical power as her auto attack damage, basically. But that's great. Magical auto attack character, wonderful. Primary ability, or her Q, line tempo, is a 6-second cooldown that drops down to a 4 at max level. It is a cost of 30 at all levels. Effects: summon a spirit wolf that lunges in a straight line, passing through all enemy targets and dealing 65, scaling up to 185, plus 60% magical power damage, or magical power as magical damage. Her secondary ability, or her E, circle rhythm, is a 15-second cooldown going down to a 9. The cost is 60, going up to 80 at max level. Summon 4 spirit wolves that circle Shinbi for 3 seconds, granting a 40, scaling up to 120, plus 35 magical power shield for the same duration and after the wolves expire. The wolves deal 12, scaling up to 40, plus 12% magical power, magical damage per second to nearby enemies, so that can proc up to 3 times. Do the math. Pretty good so far. The Q's on a really short cooldown, 4 seconds. A lot of damage for 4 seconds. Alternate ability, or right mouse button, rushing beat. This is very similar to Nemesis Dash, except magical. Cooldown, 18 seconds, dropping down to 14 at max level. Cost 80 at all levels. It's a long cooldown. Effect: dash forward a fixed distance, dealing 40, going up to 120 at max level, plus 40% magical power, magical damage, so all enemies should be passes through. Rushing beat can be re-triggered within 3 seconds of casting a dash. Casting to dash a second time. So, that being said, in reality, it's 40 going to 120 plus 40 per hit, so double that because you can do it twice. You should be auto-attacking in between. This character is going to play actually very similarly to Nemesis. So that'll be cool. Hopefully you can do like Oathkeeper. I don't know if Oathkeeper will work twice on the same ability, like Hydra's Lament with Nemesis from Smite. Ultimate ability, her R, all kill. Cooldown 120 going down to 80, pretty standard. Cost 100 at all levels. No effect. Passive, or I guess it's because there's two effects. Passive, dealing damage to enemy heroes with abilities applies track for 8 seconds, stacking up to 8 times. Active, summon a pack of Spirit Wolves to attack the target with the most track stats, dealing 50 up to 120 at max level, plus 18% magical power, magical damage per Spirit Wolf. This is either, there's gonna be a lot. The only thing is I don't think it looks very good on HUD, because it's something you want to track. Because 8 stacks is, every stack you drop is just a wasted like 50 to 120 base damage. It's a lot of damage. It's not a lot of damage, but it's damage that builds up really quickly. It's gonna be very strong. I'm excited for Shinbi. I'm gonna play the shit out of her. I said I wasn't big on her before, but no, I think I'll be a big fan. Major improvements. Store. The in-game store is now open. You can find it by clicking on the store tab in the main menu. Here you can spend any platinum you've earned or purchased on skins, or top up your platinum balance by purchasing more in your local currency. At the time of launch, the store will have 12 skins that can be purchased, but more will be added in future patches. Here is a review for the skins. The Drongo skin's cool, the Gideon skin's cool. I think I'm hoping that there's like a filter, because her hair is so neon red that it's like, she's glowing almost. I think it looks really bad. And the skin I'm just not a fan of. I don't know if it's the red or the fact that he just looks like a raptor. I don't know. As with many features that we're adding during early access, this will only be the beginning of the store. We will continue to expand and improve on it as time goes on, and it will also benefit from the UI rework that's going on behind the scenes. Fangtooth update. Fangtooth has had a massive overhaul, bringing new layers of depth to spice up the late game of Predecessor. The passive buffs remain mostly the same, but now cap out at 3. So beyond your third, starting Fangtooth 1, 2, and 3 will give you a permanent buff, but beyond that, it will only be a passive buff. So Fangtooth still grants the following 3 passive buffs based on quantity killed. First, jungle buff duration plus 50%. Second, out of combat movement speed plus 8%. Third, increased physical power, magical magical armor plus 8%. After this, no more passive buffs can be obtained. So this was only 6%, right? Yeah, because it was 6 then 12. So they buffed it, probably because it's only once, but that's still kind of scurry. Maybe not, I don't know, we'll see. After this, no more passive buffs can be obtained. Once 3 total Fangteeth have been killed in a single game, however, the new Primal Fangtooth will begin to spawn. Primal Fangtooth, this is a new variant of Fangtooth, spawns after 3 Fangteeth have been defeated in total by both teams. It will continue to grant the passive buff on every take up to the 3rd, but will also grant a new temporary buff called Primordial Blaze. This should help shift the strength of Fangtooth from constant permanent advantages to something a team needs to use within a set window. It also helps create stronger chances for a comeback. The team that is behind can still access this powerful buff rather than being forced to crawl back up the permanent buff chain. So, because I feel like this is a little confusing. To explain, only 3 Fangtooths will exist before Primal spawns. If my team clears 2 and the enemy team clears 1, the next Fangtooth will be Primal. If the enemy team clears that, they will get the second Fangtooth buff. They would get the out of combat movement speed, plus this temporary buff. If we clear it, we would get the 3rd buff, plus the temporary buff. But then everything after this, after 3rd clear, you're only getting the temporary buff. So Primordial Blaze, damage dealt to enemy targets will be set aflame, dealing 2 damage per minute of game time, true damage over 4 seconds. This damage is increased by 50% against enemies below 25% maximum health. This damage is capped at 80 true damage per second, or 120 versus targets below 25% maximum health. The buff duration is 2 minutes, or 120 seconds, which always leads to 2.5 minutes due to the first Fangtooth buff granting the extra 30 seconds, because your jungle buff duration lasts 50% longer. Alright. It's interesting. I think it'll be better than the current state of Fangtooth. We'll see. It's definitely gonna have to keep an eye on these numbers. Player versus AI beta. The future is now. AI is here. Queue up in solo or team up with friends to take on a brand new game mode. The difficulty level is geared towards beginner players, so it's a good place to start when introducing your friends to the game or trying out new builds and heroes. Please keep in mind that this game mode is currently a beta feature and is being continuously developed, so there may be bugs and issues. Gadget base skin change. We've made the decision to change Gadget's base skin to her shell shock skin. We feel this provides the hero with more character and a more battle-ready aesthetic. Her original base skin may return in a future patch as a skin. Hopefully it will. This is the skin. This is shell shock. Her mask is up. She's got full body armor. I think the reason they kind of wanted to do this, I assume, is because a lot of the issue with Paragon, especially late in its development life, is a lot of the characters are kind of just generic women. So this kind of takes Gadget away from that with a asset that was already available. So I'm cool with it. Other improvements: total damage to heroes will now be displayed at the top of the other damage to hero stats. I'm gonna pretend I know what that's saying. Heroes can now be rotated in the hero selected post-match screen. Sure. Updated Gadget's recommended items. Sure. Visual effects for Sentry have been updated. I'm curious to see what that is. Visual effects for heroes dying has been updated. Also curious. Client/server delay on ranged basic attacks has been reduced by 50%, so my understanding of that is you'll be more accurately actually shooting where you're shooting. There is no other real way to explain that in non-computer person terms. Impact decals have been updated for most abilities. Gideon's sound effects have been updated. Visual effects for lane guidance indicators have been updated. Multiple map improvements to help increase performance. Phase jumping and landing sound effects have been improved. Let's go to balance changes. Crunch is finding himself in a decent spot following his previous nerfs. However, his level 6 spike still felt a bit too defining relative to his early and late game. With that in mind, we're moving strength from his mid game to these areas with some damage number shifts. Left crunch is losing 5 damage at all. Oh, nope. That was not true. Is 30 to 150, but now it is 25 to 125. Total physical power scaling, though, has been increased from 110 to 130%, so an increase of 20%. Right crunch is a 5 damage increase at all levels. So it was previously 70 to 210, is now 75 to 215. If the issue is his level 6 spike, maybe we should have changed his passive a bit, but sure, this also works, I guess. This seemed like an indirect way of solving that problem. Gideon, with True Silver being picked up early, Gideon is able to safely engage with his ultimate and has felt a bit too safe and durable doing so. We're bumping down his health a little bit to make his play pattern a little more high risk. Health growth decreased from 110 to 105. Muriel is getting a bunch of changes. Muriel has felt a little unloved recently because she's bad, so we're granting her some larger buffs and power shifts to help players access her more exciting moments. We're increasing the overall value of her shields at the cost of a little cooldown so that she can still prevent higher levels of burst from taking down her teammates. We're also allowing her to access her ultimate a bit more often and making it easier to use as a quick reaction. These buffs, alongside the Wellspring bug fixes, should help Muriel flourish a bit more in the duo lane. So, Serenity, her Q. Slow magnitude from 25% to 35%, and slow duration from 2 seconds to 2.5 seconds. That is an insanely long slow for a relatively high amount of slowing. Alacrity? I don't actually know how that's supposed to be said. Her right mouse button. Shielding effect now has 20% magical power scaling, and now correctly scales with health and shield power. That ability just got so strong. Consecrated Ground, or her E, base shield increased from 100 going to 300 to 110 going to 350. Cooldown increased from 16 going down to 8 to 18 going down to 10. Longer cooldown, more shield. I think ultimately that's a buff. Reversal of Fortune, or her ultimate, her R, stun duration decreased from 1 second to 0.5. Charge up time decreased from 1.05 to 0.6, which is actually pretty huge. Cooldown decreased from 100 going down to 120 at max level to 160 going down to 100 at max level, which is fucking ridiculous. That is an insane change. That's so good. That's scary. Muriel will probably actually start seeing play. I think she's pretty good now. Narbash, since his recent buff, the Orc has been seeing far too much success in his early game when that beat drop hits. We're looking to decrease the power of his early sustain to prevent non-interactive trades and create larger windows to punish his aggression. They overtuned the shit out of him. General, base mana decrease from 480 to 420, just blaze. Much needed. Beat drop his passive, nearby ally mana regeneration decreased from 4 to 3. Sure. The Song of My People health, E. Isn't it? Song of My People health, E. Isn't it just Song of My People? Health regeneration decreased from 9 going up to 25 at max level to now 7 going up to 19 at max level. That's a fair buff. And the scaling has been decreased from 10% to 8%. Very good Narbash changes. I'll be curious to see where he falls now. He was just so ridiculous on this current patch. Rampage has become an impressive mid-game force to do his innate durability and high damage output. High damage output is questionable. We're looking to take his mid to late game damage down, particularly with Rumble, to decrease his DPS and allow other heroes a chance to fight back before he pummels them into the dirt. He had high damage relative to his amount of sustain. Physical power growth decreased from 3 to 2.5. His pounce, his right mouse button, bonus healing scaling decreased from 10 to 8%. His Rumble, E, base damage changed from 100 to 260, now up. Oh, it's up early. It's up on level 1 to 110 to 230. So it's lower at... It's higher at level 1, same at level 2, and then decreased the rest of the way for a total loss of 30 at the end. Bonus physical power scaling decreased from 60 to 50%, so he'll actually have a faster first clear now. Interesting. I think. Slightly. Yeah, these buffs hurt. Hurt a bit. I'll be curious to see how much this actually feels like it's changing. You're not really building... Like, I don't build physical power really on Rampage anyway, so I'm not even gonna notice this. This will affect the Bonesaw build, but I'll see. We'll see where this goes. Revenant has started to trade out his cowboy hat for a wizard hat, creating a playstyle with little counterplay due to his powerful lock-on burst. We're going to shift a bit of power away from here to prevent the full magical power builds from snowballing too hard. We're also buffing his late game physical damage builds a bit, so he isn't as outclassed when other carries catch up. This kind of concerns me. Bonus physical power scaling increase from 1% per 10% critical chance strike to 1.5% per 10% critical chance strike. And his Q just lost 25% magical scaling from 100 to 75. Up next, Ricky Paragon. Richter remains at the top of the support food chain alongside Narbash. Not alongside, Narbash is way above him. We're going to push those missed hooks a little more, or punish those missed hooks a little more so that he doesn't feel like he can fish as easily without punishment. Base mana regeneration decreased from 2.3 to 2, and Whiplash, right mouse button, his hook, mana cost increased from 100 to 120. That is a huge hit to Richter, especially in the dual lane. Sevarog! Let's undo what we did! With Sevarog's base damage increasing, we can nudge the physical power scaling down a bit. It will still continue to outpace his basic attacks. We're also looking to tackle this Reaper's early game sustain, as the S factor changes solidified his early game and made him a bit too safe whilst he claims the souls of your minions. Health regeneration decreased from 1.5 to 1. That's actually a big hit on Sevarog. Siphon, physical power scaling decreased from 80 to 70%, minion healing decreased from 15 to 10%, so he's significantly less sustain in general, but also a lot less in lane. That's a good change, needed. This might put him in a good spot. I think I'm going to be comfortable with Sevarog. Divine Wreath, you can now stack wreaths to your heart's content. Bug fix, health and shield tower is no longer unique. I don't, to be honest with you, I don't know what this means. I don't play Muriel. This patch, we're taking a look at Omnivan. Nightfall. For Nightfall, we're moving its power into its consistent damage and putting the sustain into its passive. This will prevent players from picking it up for easy additional Omnivamp rather than playing it for its isolation condition. This was a big problem. Offlaners were picking this up on characters you probably shouldn't build it on just because of the Omnivamp. Omnivamp removed, physical penetration increased from 8 to 12. That's really good for Fang Mao. Isolation range decreased from 600 to 500. And then Omnivamp, additional Omnivamp on the passive. I think I want to run this on Fang Mao every game now. Mutilator! Mutilator continues to mutilate. We're continuing to decrease Omnivamp here. Put the power into its haste instead. Omnivamp decreased from 8% to 5%. Ability haste increased from 20 to 25. I don't think I'm ever going to build Mutilator again. I'll just build Sky Splitter. Maybe Fang Mao might be the only character I'm still building this on. Tectonic Mallet. Likewise, Tectonic has felt a bit out of place with the Omnivamp, so we're shifting it away and specializing more into that Bruiser magical armor option it was designed to be. Omnivamp removed, added 10 ability haste, magical armor increased from 30 to 40, build path changed. Sure, that's fine. The 10 ability haste is going to feel good on Tectonic Mallet. I feel like Omnivamp was kind of weird on this item. Wellspring has not been working as intended. With these fixes, this item should feel far more impactful and help support players, keeping their teammates alive, even if they don't have access to heals or shields. Wellspring no longer ceases to work when it comes off cooldown whilst the player is dead. Now checks if if there is a target ally nearby, and if they are damaged before committing the cooldown of Soothing Waters. Bug fixes. I'm gonna keep them up on screen and only point out anyone that might be worth mentioning. Some abilities not pulling tower aggro. That's something that's like an immediate noticed thing. Gadget Sticky Mine won't pass through Decker Cage anymore. Gideon can basic attack again. Apparently Revenant was gaining gold when the enemy core killed him. That's a big exploit, actually. I wonder how much gold he was getting. Was it doing that? I don't remember. I don't think... Was it a sometimes bug? But Blink no longer removes Shadow Walk on Kalari. Revenant's Q will now chase through walls, which is a huge buff to Revenant. I actually meant to mention this in his buffs and nerfs. Yeah, this is a huge buff for Revenant. That's insane. And I think that's the only... Oh, Fixed Door Rampage couldn't use abilities after reviving with Phoenix in his ult. And yeah, that's everything. So that is patch notes 4.0, the arrival of Shinbi. Thank y'all for watching the video. Bears out. I promise I'm like doing the salute where I spin in my chair. It's happening. Just can't see it. So I found this box, and I know what's in it, but I don't know if you deserve to see what's in it. Maybe you do, just because you made it to the end of the video. Oh, isn't it great? Look what was in the box. That's just awesome. Look at it. It's so cool.